Welcome to the STARS program, seniors taking active roles in society. And now, here's your host, ANITA FINLEY.
Now we have someone, he's not funny, he's serious. He can be funny, but he deals in very serious issues, and that's Joe KARP, and we have him calling in now because it's raining outside, and he's going to be our bright sun this morning. Are you going to bring us some good news?
There's always good news. First of all, we're all up and awake this morning.
That's right.
And so that's a good sign.
Yes, that's
okay.
True.
And I was listening to the end of your last interview, and all I kept thinking of is, as you talk about humor and smiling, I always say the reason my wife keeps me around is I keep her laughing, I look at whether people are smiling or not. So people who are smiling always look good to me.
Right, I agree.
If they emit positive visual vibes, and it's not how good looking you are. I mean, let's face it. I don't mean to be insulting to her, but Carol Burnett was not pretty, but boy could she smile.
Yeah.
And boy, could she make you feel good. And if we go to the other edge of the spectrum from Carol Burnett, and we go to Toadie Fields, she was not thin. She had this great face that smiled all the time and brought warmth. So looks are really how you emote and how you give off your vibes. If you're gloom and doom, I don't care who you are. So being positive, looking up, being outward, I'm fortunate. I'm very positive about everything in life in terms of not only I don't mean positive like a know-it-all, although there might be people who think that I think that, but more importantly, I have just a very positive outlook. The sun will come out tomorrow.
And yet, let me tell you, I was looking at your picture in the magazine years ago. I was just going through some of the old news magazines. And you really haven't aged you don't look old. You look great. You look very similar to, you've been doing this almost 20 years, so you look very similar. You've really kept yourself looking great, Joe.
The pictures actually, some of those pictures are 25 years old that I've been doing this. And somebody says to me, somebody will say to me occasionally, because they'll meet me in a seminar and they'll say, "You look younger than your picture." And I say, "That's impossible." I say, "The picture is always older than you, even if you just did a selfie."
Right. Because
you're always going to be a second older.
But they're complimenting you.
Anyway, but it doesn't matter. Fortunately, I have been blessed with good health, some of which is self-inflicted good health, right?
Yes.
It's genetic and it's also behavioral. And some of it would be better if I had a little more self-discipline, but my father owned a candy store when I was a kid. So I have certain eating habits that have been developed since infancy. I don't have a candy allergy or a sweet allergy. So anyway, I'm very lucky and I'm glad, and it's gonna, my son is going out golfing this morning because he was confident that at least in North County it is not raining right now. So I don't know about South County.
Well, it was, but now it's very pretty. The sky's blue and pink, and so hopefully we'll get a nice time.
I had the good fortune of having a visitor come to my bedroom at 20 after 4 this morning, and she said, "Okay, it's ready for a walk," because she heard the thunder and lightning. So I was at 4:30 in the morning walking, and it wasn't raining yet, but it is really a little scary with that lightning around there because people do get struck. But we made it back in safe and sound.
Okay, so maybe let's talk now about, of course, as an elder law attorney, you have seen so many changes and so many things. And I always ask doctors, what's happened from the first time that you started practicing till now? And I hate to ask you that because it seems like it's so much in your field.
I would say probably the same thing a doctor would say.
What?
My clients who came in 25 years ago are still coming in 25 years later, and that was not expected by them or me. They have aged far better than they thought they would. They all came in with a firm belief that they were not going to be alive that long, 25 years later. They didn't really dwell on it, but when they sit down and meet with you and they're doing estate planning and they're 70 years old and plus, and they're doing their estate plan, and they were 68 years old and plus. So the first thing I would say is that the clients are living a lot longer than they thought. Even though they're a little economically scared, they're in better economic shape than they were. The clients wait longer to come in. When I started doing this on a full-time basis in 1994, people would come in 68, 69 years old and say, we've got to get this done now. We're so lucky. And now, and people should come in when they've got their first child. They should come in when they're 28, 38, 48, 58. But now more and more people are showing up later in life. They've put it off. They have greater sense of longevity, and that's number one. Number two, they are coming in with more money, worried about Medicaid. When I first started doing Medicaid planning and nursing home asset protection, nursing homes in this county were running about $3,300 a month for semi-private room. And that was a lot of money. By God, it could cost almost $50,000 a year to keep somebody in a nursing home when people started adding in some ancillary expenses. Now, the average cost in a nursing home in this county is well over $10,000 a month, well over 10. And that is a very scary figure. And the older people get, the more concerned they are about that potential reality, because that can really drill into your life savings. The other thing is people thought that long-term insurance would be adequate to cover them. And two things have happened with long-term insurance. One, the people who bought policies that paid a lesser amount are getting lesser coverage, and I still have to say to them, look, if you've got an affordable policy that's going to pay $130 a day, it's useless for the nursing home quite frequently, but it may mean the difference between being able to keep somebody at home for some care and getting some part-time help, to now that the insurance companies and people did not realize this, the insurance companies reserve the right to raise and increase their rates by going to the state insurance commission and say, we're not making any money, we've got to raise our rates. And I've got a couple of clients who've already contacted me where their rates are more than doubling and tripling, and they're really scared. I mean, I have a client who called the other day. Rates are going from $4,000 to $9,000 or $10,000 over the course of the next 3 years, or you can cut your benefits.
Amazing.
And I had another one call yesterday, and it's very rough.
Yes, it is rough. And the fees going up, I mean, it seems like it's an easy thing to say, well, people are spending, the owners have to pay the staff more, or their taxes are, but is it really necessary to have that giant amount of money it goes so high, so fast?
Well, the answer is, the question is it right? They put that in. I personally think the insurance companies should, number one, if they have the right to raise the rates, there should be clear public notice. They may have to publish something somewhere that nobody reads, They should send a notice to all of their insureds that would be affected. There should be public hearings that are notified by mail, not just in some that says we are going to move to increase our rates on your policy, and we're going to do it we're going to have a hearing in Hialeah, we're going to have a hearing in Sunrise, we're going to have a hearing in Jupiter, we're going to have a hearing in Port St. Lucie and Orlando and Altamont Springs and St. Petersburg, because we want the people to have their voice before we just impose a rate increase. I mean, I just disagree with it philosophically. They can't raise and I understand they built that into the policies, but nobody had a choice back then. Nobody had a choice. You took a policy and you were told this is the rate, and and this you can keep this policy for the rest of your life. And it's just morally incorrect to permit them to change their rates, certainly without good sufficient notice, if at all.
Thank you, Joe. I love what you just said. I'm here applauding you. I've never heard anyone say what you just said, and I'd love to figure out how we could do what you promoted.
I mean, they're a business. I have an agreement for a service contract for my home, okay? And the contract says they are going to, and I have a special clause that they offer that they're going to, if you call up in the air conditioning, they're going to fix it in 4 hours. They're going to send somebody over in 4 hours, and there's a penalty if they don't for the air conditioning. And we had an air conditioning problem, and they came within 4 hours and did some work to fix it. And the guy said, I'm sorry, you're going to have to order a part. That's okay, but he came to fix it. Then the guy came back, and he ordered the part, and then that part didn't fix it. And believe it or not, on July 4th, we were out of town, but my son was here, and he had some friends over for July 4th party because we have a great view of fireworks where we live in North Palm Beach.
Yes, I know you do.
He called them at 3:30 in the afternoon, and at 7 at night on July 4th, they sent the technician to the house. They didn't raise my rates, and they have a set of actual rates that they use, and they don't keep raising them on me. Now, they don't have to renew me, but they have for 35 years. But they can't change the rules midstream because I cost them more than I should have. They may have made a bad call, and they didn't in the long run, but they may have made a bad call and they shouldn't have insured me. Well, then next year, charge everybody an extra $500 a year if they want your coverage. They shouldn't have to be able to make a profit on everybody. They should be insured properly. I have life insurance. Can you imagine if I have life insurance to protect my wife? And if they wrote me a letter and said, Joe, we took a look and a whole bunch of people your age died, so we're now raising the rates on your life insurance because we can't afford to lose money on this. Hello, that's the risk you take.
Mm-hmm.
So I just think they should change the rules. We may not be able to extricate ourselves from the position we're in, but they should change the rules so this can't happen, because now more and more people are reluctant to buy long-term insurance. I mean, if you talk to the average 55-year-old, they're going to say, well, why the hell should I buy this? My mother's 85, and they just jacked up her insurance, and she can't afford to pay it. Now she's cutting her benefits, and they're only going to give her $90 a day if she wants to keep the same rate. So I think there should be stuff like that, and I'm seeing that, and I think people should. And this spurt that I'm seeing is hitting the older clients, the people who bought this stuff years ago, and they said, well, that group of people is costing us so damn much money. Well, of course they are. They kept paying premiums. Some of them died off. Some of them, their money started to dissipate, and they canceled their policies. But a bunch of them are living into their 80s and 90s, and some of them have to file claims. You knew that when you sold them the insurance. You shouldn't be jacking up the rates on the ones who are now 88 and still able to get around, don't need any help. So I'm very annoyed at that. So that's a big change because now people are not looking into long-term insurance. They look at that as an absolute farce.
You know, it's interesting you mentioned that because, you know, our son Chandler just said to me, I know I should be buying long-term health care insurance, so will you find me someone? And I was going to do that. So this discussion is very interesting.
Tell him to talk to me because there are newer policies that are different. They provide two things. They're both, and some people, they can just afford this, the existing policy, and afford the risk. But what do we know more than likely? When Chandler stops working,
absolutely,
his income's going to be less, and taking from his savings, if they increase the rates, gets a little scary.
No, you're absolutely right. No, but I think there also, I do know some different policies. I'm going to be working with someone on this. That turns into investment, life insurance, different kinds of things.
There's annuities. There are annuities and the life insurance policy with riders.
Yes.
That the amount of the benefit is fixed and the amount of the cost is fixed.
Mm-hmm.
Can't be switched.
Right. That's very good. Very important. So people who are listening now, if you are interested in this, you should call Joe KARP. And I want to go and talk to you about your seminars coming up in September. So let's do that to October.
We have none in September.
I know that's
so
right.
Anyway, so the answer is that is available, and it's there for it. And also, if you don't use the money, you'll get your money. You'll get money back, or your family will if you hold it till you die. So those are good. Those are available. So
let me give everyone the way to go to Joe to hear him and know what's going on in his world is karplaw.com, KARP law.com. It will give you the exact times, dates, and locations for his upcoming seminars in October. And also, if you need to talk to him now before you get to go to one of the seminars, you can get his phone number. You can get everything on the line. It's karplaw.com.
I'll give them some dates so they know.
Okay.
Because we warned people in the past that we were not going to do them we did it in August. And by the way, in August we had big crowds in the beginning of August.
Really?
When we did our seminars.
Why do you think that happened?
Because it rains in the afternoon. Where the hell are they going to go? Okay. That's and I think it's also a couple of other things. Even on clear days, it's hot. It's informational.
Yeah.
The amount of socialization is somewhat diminished off season.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I've always had actually very good seminar turnouts in August because the people come in the afternoon, they hear this stuff. This is stuff they've wanted to hear about.
Mm-hmm.
And they have less activities that are mandatory and less, we do it at 1:30 in the afternoon. So if you're a golfer, you don't really want to be out there at 3 o'clock and 1:30. It's too hot. It may rain. And people say, let's stop procrastinating. Let's go there. So we had very large turnouts at each one of our three seminars.
Great.
A lot of appointments in August. And by the way, that's historically accurate for me. That has been always the case.
Okay.
Strangely enough, and other lawyers who did anything and wouldn't show up in August is just, no, nobody's in town. Well, take a look at the Publix parking lot on a Saturday afternoon. In August.
Well, let me tell you something.
It used to be.
In July, we have two Boomer Expos every year, and we always have one in July, and we sold out in July. We had no more booths available.
I'm not surprised because people are coming, and people want information, and if they can, so we did it. Now, September is always a bad month because of the change of year. There's some people going up for the Jewish holidays, some people coming down for the Jewish holidays, some people coming down and they're starting to get moved in for the season, and everybody's reuniting and they're hugging and they're saying, oh, let's have, God forbid they should miss a meal together. There's more eating out when everybody starts to come back. They all grab at each other and want to see each other, haven't seen you in 3 months, 4 months. So we're doing it in October this year, and in October we're doing it on October 15th at the Palm Beach Gardens Marriott, and this is on our website, so they don't have to write it down. October 16th at the Boynton Beach Courtyard by Marriott, and then on Wednesday, October 23rd, up in Port St. Lucie at the Holiday Inn. We couldn't get them the same week. And we're going to talk to people about estate planning. We're going to talk about long-term care planning, Medicaid planning, whether their documents are adequate or not. And it's frightening when I see documents that people have that they think they can do certain things and they can't. They have not done what they have to do with powers of attorney. They don't know that the power of attorney law changed. I bet most of your listeners who have done powers of attorney have not, say they've named their kids as power of attorney. Half the kids have never seen these documents, don't know they exist, and wouldn't know what to. So what the hell good is it doing in your safe deposit box if your kid has to act on your behalf for health care? And many of them are out of date. And I say to people, well, take your power of attorney over to your bank or where your IRA is and say, hey, put this in your system. I want to make sure you're going to honor it if my son or daughter comes in, or my wife. And the number of people they say that discover they say, and even though they're wrong, oh, this is too old, or we need something updated, or our legal department says you can't do this. And I review these things. When people come to our workshops, we have 5 lawyers. I'm the one who sees the least amount of people. We have 5 lawyers, and we meet with people and review their documents and show them why they're good or why they're not. I had somebody in yesterday who had seen a lawyer with her husband less than a year ago. The lawyer did a new power of attorney and some other new documents, and I showed her where the lawyer had absolutely not followed the law on how a power of attorney had to be signed and initialed. And she said, but the lawyer did it. I said, well, this lawyer doesn't do this stuff. This lawyer just probably has been practicing 8 or 10 years, took the form that existed when they started, and have never looked back to see if they're doing it correctly. And I don't mean to demean lawyers. It's just that some lawyers, you can't stay on top of everything. So if you're trying to stay up on top of everything, you're going to miss some of the stuff. That's why there's a lot of stuff we don't do. We limit our practice. I have no qualms about saying I can't do this, either because it's something I don't do, and I say, but I've been in town a long time. Although my son Jonathan, who's an attorney in town, I swear knows more lawyers than I do already. He's much better at getting out there and doing some community service stuff with organizations, with lawyers, and meeting with lawyers that he knows that are doing it, as does Adele Harris, who's an attorney in my office now 15 years. She knows a bunch of another generation of lawyers. Unfortunately for me, the lawyers I've started with, I have 3 of them that I'm doing Medicaid planning for. Seriously. 3.
Yep. Well, Joe,
two are on Medicaid, and they just thought they had enough money. They had BMWs. They had lots of fancy stuff, but they also spent more than they should have.
Yep. That's same case with me. Same thing. It's the way it is. But I want to tell you that when you said you have 5 lawyers, I was thinking to myself, 5 lawyers. It used to be Joe KARP.
And that's when I changed the name to the KARP Law Firm. I made a decision that people weren't going to just see me, that I couldn't do it all, number one. And number two, I wanted to be there. My philosophy was to build a business, a law firm, that would be there to serve my clients when I couldn't. So a lawyer in my office in Boynton Beach, who's not affiliated with me, decided to retire. He sold his practice. In our case, I ain't selling my practice. They're there taking it over. And they already have relationships with the clients, and they're saying, I'd like an appointment with Adele, or I'd like an appointment with Kara or John or Andrew. So they know they're getting a firm, and there'll be continuity of service for them and their family. And I'm realistic enough to know that although I don't want to ever retire, because this is my hobby as well as my job. I enjoy doing this. I don't want to learn how to golf. I don't need to be frustrated for a fee. I like what I'm doing, but I recognize there's time that I'm going to slow down or go down.
Well, we have to get you to go down now, because we've run out of time, Joe. It's been a wonderful conversation, though, because it wasn't on specific things, except that I love what you talked about at the beginning, and that we need to be able to be in charge of what people are doing, in the insurance and all. But Joe, thank you. I appreciate, of course, always.
Tell everybody, read Boomer Times. My column this month is good. Next month we're doing the I Didn't Know That.
I love those. Yeah, I love that. Yeah. Thanks, Joe.
Be well, stay dry.
Thank you so much. Bye.